Hi, Nina Sapala here. It's a place to talk about personality typing with a spiritual understanding. This week I'm going to be talking about emotional triggers. I'm still going to get into this because I've been triggered first couple of weeks of the year. I've had some triggering moments, and I always feel like if I can share what I'm doing with you, maybe it'll change your perspective or give you that little light switch moment. And you can say, oh, I can shift my perceptions or perceptions of this, and maybe handle triggers in a little bit better way. So first thing I want to talk to you about is how important triggers are and what I believe triggers are. I believe triggers are, first of all, divine messages. That's a gentle message, telling you, oh, it's time to look at something. And it's usually something that's very uncharacteristic in who you really are. So it's that time to examine yourself and unveil what that trigger is trying to tell you so you can heal and nourish it. So it doesn't keep on coming up and coming up and coming up. So many of us ask ourselves, why am I in this same situation? I know I did for years, It's like, why do I keep on ending up in these same crappy situations? Why do I end up in these same crappy relationships or the same crappy workspace? Why do I keep on putting myself in these situations? And the simple answer is because you're here to learn something about yourself. You're here to unveil that so you can learn and walk through whatever that damaging behavior is. It's usually a fear, or it could be ego. But that's something you need to learn. You need to push through that, right? So you can quit being in those crappy situations. And what I found that's so interesting is that each personality type has a distinct set of lessons that aligns with that type. And I'm going to go further with that thought. And so if you have distinct lessons that go further within your type, those lessons help you evolve your soul. So they're very distinct to your persona. So if they're very distinct to your persona, they're going to be very distinct to your life situations, to the circumstances that you find yourself in, to the relationships, to the work, whatever it may be. It's all very unique and very individualized to you. So you have these set of lessons that are very distinct within your personality type that you need to discover about yourself in this lifetime. I'm going to tell you, if you can get through one or two of these, you're doing great. You're doing fabulous, because these lessons aren't easy and they're going to stay with you your whole life. I know, it's like, oh God, you're kidding me. But the good news is, once you start learning these lessons, you'll become more aware. You'll spot them. You'll see them come and you're like, oh, not going to go down that road again. Let's pivot. Let's pivot my behavior. Let's pivot my perceptions. Let's go inside. Let's center myself in my spiritual practices so I can see what's coming, what's triggering this, so I can do the work. Because you don't want to be like me and ignore a whole bunch of triggers and then you're just going to, this is what I did. I drank too much. I shopped too much. I overworked. I ran from them using the external world as like a veil. I put up a veil, right? So I wouldn't have to look at this stuff. And so what ended up happening is I went into a 7-year life tsunami that shut me down and made me stop and look at what these triggers were trying to tell me. I either did that or I probably wouldn't be here right now. It was that dramatic for me. And that's me. I'm an ENTP. And that was my soul path and my personality type. And that's what I needed, because I ignored triggers for so long. I just ignored them. I kept on sweeping them under the carpet. They'll go away. It's fine. It'll work out. Well, didn't work like that for me. And if I'm constantly hearing that from a lot of people, Why am I in this crappy situation? I'm unhappy. I'm this, I'm that. It's because these triggers are trying to tell you something. There's unhealthy aspects of your personality type that need nourishment, and you need to examine it. You know, so if you're starting on any kind of journey this year, I implore you to start with your personality type. You know, and I use Myers-Briggs. I don't care what you use. You could use the Enneagram. You know, there's a bunch of personality types. I like the Jung-Myers approach because Carl Jung, to me, was brilliant about this theory that he actually devised. Yeah, it was off of Freud. Long story. Yeah, I've been studying this stuff. It's so interesting to me. But so I use, you know, Myers-Briggs, or I call it Jung-Briggs, for my studies and for my theory and for personality typing with the spiritual understanding. That's where my new theory is based upon. So if you're going to go back to triggers, you know, if you believe like I do, these are my beliefs, take what you want, leave the rest. But if you believe what I do is that we're all here for a purpose. We all came here to do something. Everyone on the planet has a purpose. You're here to excavate that purpose, your why. You're here to excavate that. And then once you find that, you need to share it with the world. Because if you have a purpose and then you share your purpose with the world, and then you share it with somebody that needs to hear that to find their purpose, do you see how this is a beautiful cycle of enlightenment for everybody? It just keeps on growing and growing and growing. So, you know, if we stifle ourselves and don't learn about ourselves and ignore our triggers and what they're trying to tell us, we damn ourselves and we damn everybody else in the world. So there's a reason for that. There's a big reason for it. So I believe that when you're born, and this is my belief, so like I said, choose what you want, right? When you're born, you come in with the personality type that you chose, just like you came in with the body, the gender, your circumstances, everything. Everything. And when you get here, you know, that's when the plan, that beautiful, loving plan on the other side starts unraveling, because we're so immersed in this fear-based world. And I don't say that to be, the whole world's not fear-based, but the world is very fear-oriented. The world that I've known, and the world that we've been living in for centuries, is based on a lot of fears. You know, you don't go to spiritual kindergarten. You start to go learn your ABCs, which is fine. But that's just the physical aspect of you. Your spiritual aspect is exponentially larger than that. And that's where you're supposed to be living. We're just here to have a fun experience. This is just like a playground to evolve our souls and become more spiritually in tune with ourselves. Triggers help you do that. Triggers help you find yourself. Now, and I'm going to tell you too, I think triggers are twofold. I spoke to my first idea of a trigger. Is it something that's prompted by an external situation or circumstance that comes back at you? Now, if it comes back to you and it's really bothering you, like it's upsetting, you know, and you can feel, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. That's a trigger. That's something within you that you need to heal. Now, I also believe there are other triggers. So you could be triggered in a circumstance by somebody else's very negative behavior or somebody's fear-based behavior. And they're pushing you to do something because they're afraid. They're living their life in fear. And so they're pushing that fear on you, saying you should do this. Why aren't you doing this? Oh my God. You know, on and on. I don't need to go into all the specifics. But they push you into a place of fear. And so what happens is your energy and their energy starts it's like colluding almost, right? But you got to figure out boundaries of that. Is this my stuff? Are these my fears? If they are, like I said, that's what I was, the first aspect of triggers. You need to go in and figure that out. Or is it their stuff? And they're just shoving it in your face and trying to cloak you in their fears because it's something they haven't worked through. And so, we all do this. We all think, and I do it. Everyone's guilty of this, but we kind of believe because it's in our best interest, or it's our fear, or it's our stuff, that everybody's feeling the same way. It's not true at all. That is a false belief. So if somebody comes at you and they're all in fear, or they're being passive aggressive or negative to you or hurtful, you don't need to take that on. But you do need to stop in the moment, put up a boundary so you can figure it out. You need to go into your center and figure that out. Is this my stuff or is this their stuff? And if after you figure it out it's their stuff, let it go. Walk away from it. Don't take it in. And I'll give you an example of what I did. This is exactly what I did this week. So I just got triggered by by what a message that was sent to me, and my first reaction was from my true self, which, please know, it's always the right reaction. But like if you're like me, I had a little bit of doubt there and I second guessed, and I'll show you what happened. I kind of spiraled a little bit. But so I got the message and I was like, huh. And my true self said to me, good. This is good, Nina. This is good news, because this is not your energy. You don't need this in your life. It's negative. It's not joyful. And what else do you feel about it? And as soon as that question came, it prompted, wow, I feel sad. I feel sadness for this person. I feel sad for them. And I don't want to feel sad for me because it's not my stuff. So there's no reason for me to take this on because it's not my stuff. And so I was like, yay, this is showing me what I don't want. So go back into what I call my contentment, my light of contentment. I just want to be content with where I am in my life and figuring out my stuff and moving myself forward and trying to stay in a high vibration energy, more light filled than fear filled. I'd rather be light filled. And so I work on that. It's a practice I do every day. I work on this so I can stay there pretty steadily. It doesn't always work, Talk to my son. He'll go, God, Mom, you're in such a crappy mood. I'm like, I know. I woke up and I was angry and blah, blah, blah. So then that's a trigger telling me I need to work on something. So I got this message and I was fine with it. And then a few hours later, what happened is my ego set in. And my ego is just like, oh, that was really snarky. This person's supposed to be a friend. And why would they do that? And on and on and on. The drama, right? All the drama came in. So I called a dear friend of mine. She's like a sister to me. I'm so blessed to have a couple of dear friends that are just like sisters. I mean, I can call them and say anything. They're like, okay, well, let's talk about it. I'm like, yes. So I called one of my dear friends and, kind of explained what was going on. And she's an extreme introvert. And I love her because she's an extremely profound person to begin with. And she's a great listener. And she was listening to me. And she said, well, didn't your true self tell you to not take it personally? And this isn't your stuff? I go, yeah. And I go, and I just disregarded it. She goes, yeah, Nina, because you went to the external. You went to the external place. Your ego tried to bring you back into the external world to get an answer. And there's no possibilities in that. There's no answer there. It all comes from your true self. Your true self already gave you the answer. But you're doubting yourself. Don't doubt that. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Why do I do that? Why don't I listen? Sometimes I just don't listen. It just percolates. I'm not listening. And my friend said, because you didn't stay in the stillness long enough. And for an ENTP personality type, oh my God, she was dead on, because I have a thinking trait, an introverted thinking trait is my harmonious trait. It's secondary in nature. And then that, along with my essential self, which is my primary trait, those two together, oh my God. You know, extroverted intuition is like possibilities, possibilities, possibilities. And then my thinking tree is like, ooh, let's think that. What about that? Ooh. And it's like this never ending barrage of possibilities and opportunities and thinking. But what my dear friend said, which made so much sense to me, it's like, Nina, you're trying to go outward to look at that. Go back in. So I did. I got off the phone, went in, and I just took some very quiet time. And I sat with that, and I said, you know, this isn't my stuff. I need to release it. You know, what made me not believe in it? You know, what made me not trust my true self? And it was exactly that I didn't give myself the time to sit in that and know that this person's energy is not aligned with my energy at all. So it's not good to have that in my life. But if I would have sat with it a little bit longer, I would have came to that conclusion. That was an out of alignment energy trying to enter and disrupt my aligned energy. That's where you have problems. So that's why personality typing with a spiritual understanding is all about having that spiritual practice too, that can kind of like harness your physical traits when they get out of control, like my thinking and my intuition, which are those are my beautiful traits. But if they get out of control, and I'm not working with my spiritual self's not overseeing that, then I go to the external, and the ego comes in and fear comes in, and it's all very, very unhealthy. So we don't want to do that. So there's two sides to emotional triggers. One side is you need to go inside and see if that triggers a fear or an ego aspect that you need to get over and look at. And ask yourself, is this characteristically me? And if you know your personality type, you'll know it's characteristically you and not. So then that question becomes very easy to answer. No, this isn't me. And then you can start doing the work. Okay, let's get you back to you. So I'm going to be talking a lot about this in my book, because it's so critical to really finding yourself and getting that why, getting to your why, getting the direction in your life. One direction. We don't need a whole bunch of directions. We think we do, we don't. That's what makes us fumble a lot. And then the second aspect of emotional triggers is that it's an external trigger, right? That's out of alignment with your energy, that you need to put in place for the boundary. You need to stop that negative energy from coming in. You need boundaries in place. Because if it's not aligned with who you are, then you need to let that go. I don't care who that energy is coming from. If it's not aligned with you, and it happens in your families, it happens with friends, it happens at work, it happens at line of the grocery store. If that energy is not aligned with you, and you'll feel it, because you can just feel that. You can just feel your whole body shift. I know I can. When that energy's not right, you can feel it. But you got to bring yourself in stillness to feel it. You got to have your boundaries in place. Go, no, not my energy. I'm going to let that go. Don't need that in my life. That's their thing. Let them deal with their thing. Whatever the behavior is. If you know it's not your thing, then don't take it on as yours. Don't adopt it, because it's not yours. It's not yours to own. It's not yours to carry. It's just not yours. So let it go. We have enough baggage in our lives. We don't need any more. So, triggers and their emotional responses, right? So, what triggers are typically, and there can be typically found in your personality traits. It's just unbalanced aspects of yourself. And the triggers are just trying to show you like you're out of balance, come back into balance. Now, I'm saying this from a very general perspective because obviously I don't know your circumstances. Some triggers are deeply rooted traumas, you know. So I'm talking about this from a more generalized perspective since, like I said, I don't know yours. But it just gives you a good perspective. I think it gives you a good shift in perspective. If you can see triggers in two different ways and see what, first of all, identify the trigger, and then what aspect is it trying to unseat you? Both of them are kind of disruptive in a way, aren't they? You know, one's really unhealthy, and one's unhealthy negative energy coming in to try to seat your alignment, unseat your alignment. So triggers aren't healthy, but if you can look at them as gifts to get you healthy, then there's a nice shift in perspective. Does that make sense? Anyway, lots more to come in 2022. I'm working on a new website. That's why I haven't been doing blogs. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Anyway, it's one of those things. But if you want a quick take on this, you can go to my Instagram too, and I go into a little bit different takes on this. So I try not to do the same thing everywhere. It's not in my nature. I'm an ENTP. So I always do everything just a little bit different. Anyhow, this is going to be the year for you. And I know that sounds cliche, but I keep on saying 2022 is going to be the year you find yourself. And I hope one of your resolutions, to use coin a phrase, I think better than that, I hope a deeply held desire for you is totally finding yourself, finding who you are, figuring yourself out, finding your why, getting your life's direction. There's a direction. We're all pointed in a direction. And we can be multiple things. There's just not one purpose. But the direction of our lives, who we are deep down, that stays the same. That engages with whatever layers of stuff that you're doing. Right? It's very important. So I'm going to end with what I always end with. You know, one person in alignment is more powerful than a million that aren't. I want you to be in alignment. I want you to be the lighthouse, the beacon, the spotlight in the world that you came here to be. I want you to figure yourself out. And a great way to do this is to look at your triggers. All right. All for now. Hope you're enjoying these videos. If you do, please like, subscribe, share, do all the fun stuff that we do on YouTube. And I'll see you next week. All for now. Nina.